All right, here we go. My name's Jeff K, and you're listening to episode 362 of the world-famous West Virginia Surf Report podcast. Hope your Christmas went well. Our Christmas went okay. And you know what's great? It's behind us. I don't like Christmas anymore. I used to love it. When I was a kid, of course, I loved it. When I was in my 20s, I loved it. When our kids were young, I loved it. Somewhere along the line, that's not, I don't enjoy it anymore. You know why? Because I'm maxed out on the... You know, it's just another obligation, right? It's a long list of obligations, and I feel like I'm always racked with guilt. I feel like I never do enough. It costs a ton of money. I don't want to, it costs a ton of money. It's more obligations, and it's just stressful. I don't need more obligations. I am up to my eyeballs in obligation. I don't need more. It's no fun. I don't enjoy it. It stresses me. I don't like it. So the day after. I mean, I hesitate to say the day after because actually it's the afternoon of Christmas Day. Like everybody gets up and they open their gifts. If everybody, if there's not somebody that's like completely disappointed and crushed with disappointment, then I feel like, oh, God, okay, we got that behind us. But Christmas Day's not any fun for me either. It's just a day of sackism. Every store's closed. Every restaurant's closed. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. Everybody just hangs around. Some people don't even get out of their, pajamas all day. Or whatever they wear to bed, It's not any pajamas, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But it's just a day of sack, and I don't like that. I can't deal with that. I can do maybe one day. Even that's hard on me. Some people can do it never ending. Just hanging around the house watching TV. Can't stand that shit. God, makes me insane. I can't stand it. So Christmas Day is not very much fun either. And somebody always says, hey, let's watch a Christmas movie. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that either. That stuff sucks. Like Elf. Like this year, somebody want to watch it? You guys want to watch Elf? No. Why would I want to watch that? I've seen it like 10 times in my life, maybe more. I mean, it's all right. I don't hate it, but. If you ask me, do you want to watch it? The answer will always be no. I ended up watching it, and I kind of enjoyed it. I mean, but, I would have never said yes to that question. Never. And I don't like, all those Christmas movies, all the big ones. Christmas Story. You want to watch a Christmas Story? No. I mean, I love Gene Shepard. I love the Gene Shepard radio show, which was where all those stories came from. But I don't want to sit and watch it again. I've seen it 20 times in my life. Why do I need to see it again? This is not 2001: A Space Odyssey. You're not peeling another layer of onion away. You know what I'm saying? This is just some goofy little Christmas movie. I mean, it's good. It's well done. I've been to the Christmas Story house. Steve wanted to go there when we were in Cleveland. We went to see a Reds Indians game. They were called the Indians back then. They weren't not the Guardians, so, I don't need anybody calling me up and telling me that I'm being insensitive. They were the Cleveland Indians at that point. We went to a baseball game. Surf Reporter got us tickets to a game. It was hotter than shit that day. I mean, hot. One of the hottest days I've ever experienced in my life. So we went to that game, and it was one of the level where there's free food, So they had this big spread of all this different kinds of food. I was so freaking hot that I didn't even want to eat. I felt like I was about ready to pass out. I felt like I was about ready to burst into flames. I remember after the game, we were walking back to the hotel, and Steve goes, "You want to stop and get a beer somewhere?" I said, "Hell to the yes." So we stopped at this bar, and we were sitting at the bar, and Steve ordered, I don't know, some fancy ass, some kind of fancy ass craft beer, which is what I would normally order as well. But I felt like I was about ready to go up in flames. I was so hot. I mean, just all the way down to my skeleton. I feel like my skeleton was hot. You know what I mean? And I was like, so he ordered whatever. He ordered some kind of fancy ass thing. And I said, "You got any Pabst Tall Boys?" And the woman goes, "Now we're talking. We certainly do." So Steve was like, "What the hell? What are you doing?" I said, I got to put this fire out inside of me. This is the only thing that'll quench it. So he was like, "I wish I'd have got one of those." But anyway, went to that, and Steve wanted to go to he loves Christmas Story. So we went to the house. Yeah. Took about, roughly maybe like 7 minutes to tour it. It's just a small little house. It was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to see it, I guess. The neighborhood was shit, it was a terrible neighborhood. This nice, well-maintained house because it's a tourist attraction. And then they have, like, gigantic gift shop over there. He bought a bunch of stuff. I think I bought a postcard. He bought a full-sized leg lamp. I bought a postcard, I think. Anyway, on that, so we did go to that. But anyway, if somebody says you want to watch a Christmas movie, my answer every time is going to be no. I don't want to watch it. And I can't wait to get this shit behind us. I can't wait to get it in the rearview mirror. So weight lifted when we get past Christmas. New Year's I don't have any problem with because that's barely a holiday. That's just an extra day off from work. That's not in the same category. So once you get past it, so you get to the 26th. That's what I was pointing. Once I get to the 26th, get past that day of Sackism, which is the 25th. I feel like yes, finally we're past it. Woo-hoo! Now we can just start thinking about baseball, spring training, which is what I'm thinking about anyway. And let's get this freaking winter behind us and get back into baseball season and back to normalcy. All right. Anyway, I hope you guys had a good one. How's that for an upbeat intro? I was talking to somebody the other day. I think it was Tony. But I don't know if it was Tony. I think it was Steve, actually. I was talking to Steve on the phone. We were talking about stuff that you hear about, like people tell you about, and you worry, and then you worry about it it's like something that never occurred to you. Something that never occurred to you, and then somebody tells you that it happened to them or it happened to somebody, and then you start worrying about it. It's like some idea that they plant in your head, and you can't shake it. There's 3 of them that I jotted down. I remember listening to Clive Bull's radio show, which is a British guy. I used to listen to his show every day, and it was great. I used to listen to it at work, and then it was back years ago, and they would let him do his show ever how he wanted to do it. Right now, they make him do breaking news and stuff. It has to be about stuff that's in the headlines and stuff. It's not nearly as... he's still great. I love the guy. But it was better when he could just do silly topics if he wanted to or whatever. So anyway, he was talking about... He had some woman on there, a man. I can't remember if it was a man or a woman. Talked about somebody who had had their dishwasher. They were loading a dishwasher. And they had the bottom drawer or tray or whatever. What is it? The bottom tray, I guess. Pulled out, and they were putting stuff in it, and it's got that silverware, those little silverware holders off to the right as you're facing it, you know what I mean? And said it had knives in there pointing up, right? Knives in there pointing up. And this person like slipped or tripped and fell across the open dishwasher drawer and died, like impaled themselves on steak knives that were sticking up. It's like, oh my God! Every time I open the dishwasher, I'm like, oh my God, I'm taking my life into my own hands here. But I always put the knives pointing down, because of that. That's one of those things I heard probably 15 years ago, and I never stopped worrying about it. Anytime I'm around a dishwasher, for some reason, I don't know why. I mean, I hear all kinds of stuff all the time, and most of it just goes in one ear and out the other. But that, for some reason, that's stuck. I can just see myself tripping and falling, or somebody in the family, tripping and falling, slipping on some water on the floor or something, and then just going straight across a basket of knives, like right into their heart. That scared me. That's one of the things. Also, I remember a girl in Atlanta told me this story, and this is ridiculous. I mean. Okay, so she told me that she lived in this apartment, not very good. Back in those days, my apartment wasn't very good either. I mean, we're all in the same boat. We were like in our 20s. We were, had roommates in some cases, and not great. Our apartments were kind of shitty. You're young and you're just getting started and stuff. So she said she was sitting on the toilet. I don't know. People tell you all kinds of stuff. I mean. Somebody told me yesterday that they were on their way to work and they had to go back. They doubled back to go inside to check their britches, as they called them, because she thought she shit herself. I said, well, thank you for that information. I appreciate that. I'm not sure why that needed to be told, but I'm glad it all worked out. But anyway, so she told me she was sitting on the toilet. This is back in Atlanta, and she said there was a vent, like one of those, the vent that's in the bathroom that runs when you turn the light on, that kind of thing. And she said, there's a cockroach up in there, fell from the vent into her underwear, because her underwear is like right around, down around her ankles. A cockroach fell out of the vent above her head, unknowingly landed in her underwear, and then when she was finished, she pulled her underwear up, and she could feel something wriggling around in there, and there's a cockroach in there. I was like, what the? It's like, I don't know if I could live in this world, Thankfully, I don't live in any kind of situation where there's cockroaches anymore, but I mean, sometimes there's bugs that get in the house, It's just something that's, like, that never occurred to me. Like, something like that could ever happen. Have bugs inside your drawers, that fall from the ceiling, So anyway, her name was Annette. And for some reason, that shit just like, that's in my head now. I mean, that's in my head, and bugs me, So anyway, I should contact her, see if she's around, and see if she remembers that story. I'm sure she does. Traumatizing. The third one is something my dad told me. He said, this is something that goes back to the 60s, I think, where men were not supposed to use straws, that it was kind of a sissy. He called straws. This is when we were young, right? Me and my brother. He called, and it wasn't just him. This is like something that was widely, this is something a lot of people said, but my dad, told this to me and my brother, that straws were for sissies. He called them sissy sticks. He called straws sissy sticks. So every time I use a straw, because I use straws now, I'll do whatever. I don't want to drink. I don't want to put my lips. Like you go to like any restaurant, and you get sweet tea or whatever. It's just my it's my choice. Or if they don't have that, then you get the Dr. Pepper. I'm not putting my lips on those disgusting cups where there's been 1,000 other lips prior to I'm not doing that, But for a long time, that kind of freaked me out. I can't use a straw. Like even when I'm drinking a milkshake, I have to drink right off the lip of the cup, because it's a sissy stick. I can't do that. These are things that just get inside your head, things that never occurred to you before. How could a straw be something for sissies? I don't understand. I don't understand that. But there's other things too, like umbrellas. You can't use an umbrella. Like what the? It's raining. What do you want me to do? I mean, I actually don't use umbrellas because I don't want to carry shit around. I'm not opposed to it because I think it's going to make me look, seem like a sissy, so to speak. But that reminds me, the other day I was reading the Cincinnati Reds page on Reddit. Somebody linked to this old YouTube video of an old game show. I don't know if you youngsters might not remember it, but some of the people that are like my age will. There's a famous game show called What's My Line? So that thing was on, the original run of it was on from like, I looked it up on Wikipedia. I don't know this information right off the top of my head. Started in 1950 and ran to 1967. So that's when it was on originally, the original run. So this episode that this guy linked to was from 1956, and one of the guests on there. See, they have a panel of 4 people, and the person usually comes on there. There's like 3 or 4 of them in an episode, and often they have weird jobs, or sometimes they're famous people, and if they're famous people, then they have to put on the panel has to put on blindfolds. They either have to guess the person's job or they have to guess the famous person, right? By asking questions. So they go down the line. The first person asks a question. They can keep asking questions until the answer is no. They have to ask yes and no questions. Okay. So on this one from 1956. One of the first guest, and there was the Cincinnati Reds, 1956 Cincinnati Reds team. Well, there were 11 of them, right? So they had blindfolds on. They had one guy speaking for them. It was Ted Kluszewski, who was a Red star. He's in the Reds Hall of Fame, has his number retired and all that stuff. And they quickly figured out that it was a baseball team, and then they were like, well, what is it, a team from the metropolitan New York area? And they said no. And they said, well, what teams are in town right now? And this woman, one of the women on the panel goes, well, the Milwaukee Braves are here and the Cincinnati Reds are here. Like, how in the I thought that was pretty impressive. The Braves are playing the Reds are playing the Dodgers, and I don't know, and the Braves are playing the Giants or something. This is back before the Giants and the Dodgers moved to the West Coast. All right, so they quickly realized that it was the Cincinnati Reds. Okay, they guessed it in fairly quick. So that was kind of fun. It had had Joe Nuxall, who became like one of the Reds announcers for years and years. Frank Robinson, Hall of Famer, That was kind of fun. And then I watched the entire episode. It was good. So then I watched another one. It had Brian Epstein, who was the manager of the Beatles from 1964. He seemed completely terrified. I mean, he didn't say, I don't think he said 5 words the whole time he was on there. He didn't say, he was you could tell he was just totally terrified, and they quickly realized that he was, they quickly zeroed in on that shit, they figured that out within minutes, and then I watched an episode from 1953. This is the one that ties in with the sissy sticks. It had, I think it had Ronald Reagan on there. They had to wear, they had to wear blindfolds for that one, and some other people. But that one had all the commercials in it. All right, so there's this commercial that I saw in there, 1953, right? And it shows these 2 men in a locker room, and one of them kind of like, squeezes through to get past this one guy, and he knocks something off the bench. He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, John," or Jim, or whatever. "Sorry, Jim." He goes, "That's all right. Don't worry about it. It's not breakable." And he picks it up. The other guy picks it up, and he goes, "What? A he-man like you would use a deodorant? He goes, I certainly do, and it's not, it's not just it's not just a deodorant. It's also an antiperspirant. He goes, an anti what? And so the guy goes off on some kind of tirade. I mean, he's listing all the reasons why. Basically, this is, in business. When men are in business, they do a lot of tense. Perspiration can happen because you're in high tense meetings and all this stuff, and he goes, and there's nothing sissy about it. I thought, oh my God, there's a lot of worries about being sissies back in those days, wasn't there? A lot of sissy, and he goes, oh well, I think I'm going to stop on my way home, stop at the drugstore and get some for myself. It's like, what a wishy-washy son of a bitch you are. It's just like literally like 30 seconds ago, you were like criticizing this guy, and he goes off at So anyway, so that was, I thought that was funny. And then there's nothing sissy about it. I remember seeing an article on this website called Metafilter back in the old days. I don't know if that's still up, but it was a group blog where people linked to articles and stuff on the internet, and they wrote, they'd write like a paragraph or so. It was all kinds of just random stuff, but it was always real interesting, kind of highbrow. And it's called Metafilter. I don't know if it's still around, but there was this article on there I remember reading. It said that back in the early 1900s, they bullied, like these companies bullied women into using deodorant because they said, if you're never going to have a man. You're never going to get a man. Never. You're never going to have a family, a husband. All your dreams are going to be dashed because of your stank pits. You're a horrible stench that you're just exuding all the time. If you don't buy our product, all your dreams are out the window. They just like scared the hell out of everybody. So that was for women. That's how they did it. And it was in the early days. I guess it was just for women. It was something that women used. Men didn't. And then after World War II, I guess these people said, "Why are we limiting ourselves to just the Procter and Gambles of the world?" They're like, why are we limiting ourselves to 50% of the population? Let's bully the shit out of men too. Let's scare the hell out of them. So they started and this is right at, this was in 1953 when I saw this ad, this commercial. It was, around that time, right after, well, that was like 8 years after, but you know what I mean. They were telling men that, if you're not going to be able to get promoted because you smell terrible. I mean, you smell awful. You're never going to get promoted. You're not going to be able to support your family like a man. You can't be a provider like a man should be. Unless you buy our product. I mean, if you buy our product, you have a better chance at it. But your stank pits, your horrible stench, oh God, you smell like an open grave every day. So anyway, so eventually they got all the men on board too. They just like bullied everybody and like terrified everyone into thinking that they're going to be social pariahs. They're not going to be able to get a man. They're not going to be able to have a family, children's completely out of the, that's never going to happen. And men, the men were never going to be able to like support their family. They're going to be a big failure. They're going to be looked down upon by all their peers. Anyway, how did we end up on this subject? Oh yeah, the sissy stick thing. Well, anyway, so that was kind of interesting. I was talking to Steve the other day. All right, we'll just wait. I don't want to go off on another. I got some calls. We'll go into that thing I was talking to Steve about next time. But I do have 2 calls that came in over the hotline. Let's just do those now. Before we get into them, though, I did have a call from area code 765. It was 50 seconds long, totally silent. So I don't know if you're from area code 765 and you think you left me a message. There was nothing there. When you hit play, total silence. So I don't know what happened there, but if that was you, give me a call back and try it again. Let's do it again. So the first call that I was able to hear is from our old pal Patrick, and here it is.
Hey, Jeff, Patrick here. Man, gross things that you've had to do at work. Man, my first job, like you, was I worked in a butcher shop. And yeah, I used to have to make the ground beef, like you, and I used to have to like package all this stuff up where you'd package up like ribs and cut the steak and like wrap it all up in the paper and wrap it all up in the thing. And that part didn't bother me so much. What really grossed me out was at the end of the shift, you had to clean all the equipment. Like you had to clean all the meat grinders, and there was we had this big, we used to get sides of beef in, like Rocky, like the cattle, whole side of cattle in, and we would cut it up. The master butchers that we had, we would cut it up into pieces on this big bandsaw, which is just like a bandsaw that you would see like in a woodworking shop. And the bandsaw would get, it looked like sawdust, but it was bone. It was bone dust, and it would get like little chunks of beef and meat and fat would get all in it, and you had to take the covers off of it, and you had to clean that thing every day. And that was gross. That really grossed me out. You had to stick your fingers in plate and like scoop all the shit up. That was really gross. Now I'm a mechanic, and I've been a mechanic for about 30 years, and it's not the oil, it's not the dirt, it's not the grease that I don't mind any of that. What bugs me now is gross cars. Like when I get in a car and the steering wheel is sticky or the shifter's sticky or greasy, and it smells like old food. There was this big giant fat woman, had a Jetta I used to work on, who was the hoarder type, and her the only spot in the car was where the driver's seat. And the rest of it was filled with trash, like all halfway up the window. You could hardly see out of the motherfucker. And it smelled like you said, the dude's desk where he would keep food in the desk. That's what this car smelled. It smelled like rotten. And dude, I could not drive that car. I'd work on it. I was like, dude, you gave somebody else to drive this thing. I can't be in it. And there was another guy that had a Volkswagen Passat that had, this thing must have smoked like 3 packs of cigarettes in this thing a day. And everything inside the car was tan from the nicotine and the smoke that was in it. And everything, it was sticky, not like you wouldn't stick your hand in, but you could feel it. It was sticky, like the steering wheel was sticky.
All right, Patrick. It sounds like you got cut off, but I got the gist of that. So, yeah, you did the same thing where you had to make the ground beef. You said that part didn't really bother you at all, whatever. But, the part that I didn't like was dropping those big globs of fat in there. You just like, oh, that was disgusting. But I never had to clean the machines, the grinders and stuff. I don't think I'd care for that either. You take the housing up there, the top of it. Stick your fingers down in there. Oh God, no. I can see what you're saying. That would be disgusting. And you're cracking me up about the gross cars, sticky steering wheels, sticky shifter. Is that a band? I think that was a Southern rock band, Sticky Shifter. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong. But anyway, yeah. It smells like old food. Yeah, people are disgusting. I don't know. I don't want to name names, but there are people in my family. Like, you go out in the driveway, we got 4 cars, right? And you walk by, you go down the middle of the driveway, and all 4 cars are parked. You look in the windows, and to varying degrees, there's stuff in there. There's like empty bags, there's like fast food bags, soda bottles, and stuff in there. There's all kinds of shit in there. Clothing. Who the hell knows? Half-eaten sandwich. like a hoagie on the, you know what I'm saying? And then you get to my car, there's nothing in there. It's completely empty. There's nothing. Zero. I keep it complete. Steve always says, "Why is your car always so neat?" I say, "I don't know, it's not and my brother, I was telling you that my brother opens the side of his minivan and a bunch of stuff falls out, like coffee cups and mugs and shit, ceramics. There's like ceramic stuff falling out the side of it, and then he drives over them. He's like crushing these coffee mugs. It's like, I don't know. I know what you're saying. And sticky stuff, that makes me sick. Like when you're going down an escalator and you put your hand on that thing and there's something on there. That is horrendous. One time I was on a bus in New York City, this was years ago. I think we were going down to Greenwich Village, I think. And because there used to be this Chinese restaurant down there that we loved. It went out of business during COVID, which sucks, But I think we were heading down there. We're going to have lunch at this place. And I put my hand on like the stainless steel little armrest type thing, and there's a glob of I think it was snot, and I was like, oh god, I almost gagged. I was dry heaving in that thing. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna get, I don't know, who knows, I'm gonna get some kind of like my liver's probably gonna shut down or something. We get hepatitis suffix thing or AIDS or something or something. I mean, it's just, that's disgusting. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And I've seen those cars where it's just stacked full of trash. There was a woman I used to work with out in California. Her car was that way. You couldn't even see. There's just a spot where she'd sit her big ass in there, behind the wheel, and the rest of the car was just piled up with trash. It's just a rolling dumpster, Like, what the? I used to snap pictures of it, like when I'd go on lunch or something, I'd see that thing. God. So I understand what you're saying, Patrick. And the cleaning the grinder and all that stuff, that's horrendous. Jeez Louise. I'm glad I never had to do that. I got one of the what do you call them? Butchers at that grocery store, Fast Check. He came to me one day and he goes, "Would you be interested in being an apprentice, like apprentice with him, like an apprenticeship with him, learn meat cutting and all that stuff?" And the guy was being nice. This is one of these things when I think back on it, and I was like, I don't think so. I appreciate it, but no, I don't think so. And he seemed mildly offended, like he was extending he was making me an offer, change my life. Probably, I mean, you can make a good living, being a meat cutter, being a butcher. And he could tell probably that I was adrift. That was a bad part of my life. He was probably trying to help me out. He probably liked me. And I just instantly shut it down. When I think back on that, it's one of the there's millions of them that I think, oh, God, I could have handled that better. But he asked me if I wanted to be a meat cutter's apprentice and start heading down that road, And I was like, nah, I'm good. No sensitivity at all. Just an idiot, God. It's one of those things. But I never had to clean that. All I had to do was make ground beef when they would run out at night. And it was nightmarish. But anyway, thanks for the call, Patrick. I appreciate that. This next call is from our old pal Eugene. Here it is.
Hey, Jeff, it's Eugene, your pal, your buddy from Peaches, and the Wheelers Dog podcast. You were talking about jobs where things you had to do that were very unpleasant. Well, working in radio promotions, especially during the time of the Fear Factor series, radio morning shows did stunts like that. And so our morning show at Rock 92 in Greensboro, they decided that they were going to do a Fear Factor thing for $100. And what they came up with was drinking pureed rat. So we had to acquire some rats from Carolina Biological, some study rats. And then they were talking about, just boiling them and then pureeing them in a machine. And I'm like, guys, I know people are signing a release form, but let's think about what could be in the rat's guts? Do we really want people drinking that? He's like, okay, well, you're in charge of gutting and skinning them. So me and another guy started in, gutting them, and the one dude just took off. He's like, I can't do this. I was like, all right. So I ended up gutting them all. I clipped off their feet, skinned them, and then gutted them. And then we were boiling them outside the radio station the next morning. And homeless people started coming up. And then this guy's like telling him, like, oh, yeah, we're paying people $100 to drink pureed rat because, it smelled like wet dog. That's what it smelled like cooking. And we removed the hair off of it and the feet. And so homeless people are like, man, you give me 25, I'll drink it right now. No, that's not the deal. We've already got our contestants filled out. And so that was the worst thing that I ever did, skinning and gutting rats, boiling the rats, which did not smell good. It was a long 2 days, let me tell you that, prepping and then actually doing it. And all 6 guys did it. Only one of them barfed. So, yeah, it just didn't feel right just sticking a whole rat in there for people to drink, Oh, well. Thanks, Jay and Jeff, and enjoying the podcast. Keep it real, Daddy-O.
And now that, that's all I can say about that. You snip the feet. I like that. I like that you mentioned that a couple times. You had to snip the feet off, skin them, gut them, and then boil them in puree. Oh, God. Who in the hell, for $100? There's 0% chance I would do that. I wouldn't do it for $1,000, I don't think. That is gross. Like you say, God, those things eat. I mean, they're full of rabies. Who knows? They're full of all kinds of parasites. Their stomach's just full of parasites and eating like turds. And I don't know what these things eat. I think they eat turds. I could be wrong. What do I know about it? But anyway, I know you boil them and stuff, and it probably kills. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that for $1,000. Even back when I was poor, I wouldn't do it for no way. $100? These people did this? I can't even imagine. I can't imagine the smell. I can't imagine like gutting a rat. That is all right. You win the contest, Eugene. That's horrendous. The smell of a boiled rat. You had to puree it, boil it down. One time when I was out in California, they were talking about there was some kind of Southern style barbecue shop that was going to open, and one of the things they sold there was Brunswick stew. They were asking me about it. They said, what is that? And I said, I don't know. I think it's just like the stuff from a pig that they can't use. They just throw it and make a stew out of it. It's like basically if you can't make like a sandwich out of it, they just like, they're like, oh, bullshit. Yeah, you know what you're talking about. I said, all right, well, I mean, I lived most of my life in the South. I know a little bit about it. Like, no, that can't be that. Can't be. That's horrendous. Like a boiled down rat or something. So, that's probably what they were hearing inside their head. I said, yeah, okay, whatever. I don't really give a shit what you think. And there's this other guy named Randall. He also came from the Atlanta branch of WIA, where I came from, but he was there before I was. So he was he had a thick Southern accent. He was from Georgia. He was Georgia through and through, brother. And he worked out in California in home office. He originally started at the Atlanta branch, same place I worked at. He just happened to be strolling by, do-de-do-de-do, And he said, hey, Randall, come over here. I want to ask you. One of these people that we were talking to was my boss, what's Brunswick stew made of? How do they make Brunswick stew? And he goes, well, basically, I believe it's just a boiled down pig head. I mean, he has like this thick, it's just a boiled down pig head. Those guys are like, oh, God. And I thought that was hilarious. They were like, oh, God. That just makes me sick. There's no way. There's no way I could gut, skin, clip the feet off a rat. I could never boil a rat, puree a rat, and I don't care how much money you give me. I'm not drinking a rat. No way. That shit is disgusting. You win, Eugene. I think whatever. I don't know. I can't think of anything worse than that. Well, probably can't. That takes the cake. So anyway, thanks for calling. If you guys want to listen to Eugene, some more stories like this one, check out the Wheeler's Dog podcast. It's available everywhere that you get podcasts. It's really good. Hosted by Eugene, my old Peaches Records and Tapes buddy from Greensboro days. So check that out, Wheeler's Dog podcast. Thanks for calling, Eugene. Thanks, Patrick, for calling as well. I appreciate it. And whoever area code 765 was, I appreciate you calling too, even though I couldn't hear one word of it. Call me back. And if the rest of you guys want to give me a call, you can do it easily. Head on over to a phone. Head on over to a phone and call 570-290-8151. Give me some feedback and ask some questions, make some suggestions, whatever's on your mind. And if you have some gross story from, a job that you had to do, something gross that you had to do at a job, you can call 570-290-8151, but you can call me about anything. Also, if you want 2 of these episodes a week instead of a measly one, you can head on over to patreon.com. It's Patreon, patreon.com/Jeff K. Sign up for a $4 or more monthly donation, and you'll get an extra episode every week. Not every once in a while, not every month. I'm getting something's getting a little off here. Not every month. No, that's for suckers. Patreon.com/Jeff K is the place to do it. You'll get an extra episode. Every time there's a new episode on the main network, you'll get an extra episode over at Patreon as well. Full length, exactly like these, just more of it. So if you're interested in that, do it today. And surfreportpod.com is the website for the podcast, extra expanded show notes, links, photographs, etc. Value-added service. Surfreportpod.com. And we're at the end of this thing. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys have yourselves a fine day. Until next time, which will be over. Like, I'm all messed up here. I don't even know how to close this thing out anymore. I don't know what the hell's going on. Okay. Until next time, which will be over on the Patreon side. Hope you guys have yourselves a fine day. I'll see you. Bye. It's just a day of sackism.